All right, Tuesday night, time for Raj. Raj from RSF 49ers is in the house. It's Tuesday night. It's Packers week. It's time to talk a little Niner football. Let's go. All right, we get it rolling on the Krug Show Tuesday night, 8:32 West Coast, 11:32 East Coast. Hope everybody's having a great night, great day. Welcome to the Krug Show, brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week. We're also brought to you by Sharp Corners, Sports Cards, and Collectibles. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove, California, on the Monterey Peninsula. Thanks to my friend Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. And this live stream is sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. Raj and I won last week with our Better lineup. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. We just did it. Download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners to get your first deposit matched up to $200. Everyone who does is automatically entered into a drawing to win a signed Fred Warner jersey. We'll announce the winner at the end of the month of November, which is unbelievably only about 10 days away. How about that? We're already on the 19th of November. Raj, good to see you, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm glad to be back after last week's fiasco. I'm good, man. This is my third live of the night, so let's roll, baby. I'm good.
Third live of the night.
Yeah.
Man, you're all over the place tonight.
Yeah, busy guy tonight.
What other lives have you done today?
So I do my weekly show with one of my friends from Instagram on Tuesdays. It's Uncovered NFL. My buddy Jake,
Gotcha.
big Packers guy, but he runs like an all sports page. We do that. And then somebody else reached out to me a couple of days ago, and I know his uncle who runs a big pizza shop here in town. So I was like, yeah, I'll go live with your cousin. And so I did that, and then I got you tonight. So,
well, let's get right into it. What'd you think of the Seahawks game? Obviously, it was a loss, so you couldn't have loved it too much. But it was a weird game because I literally walked into the corner of the press box to tape a video that celebrated a 49er victory, only to sit there and watch them then just piss it away as Geno Smith drove down the field and eventually ran in for the game-winning score. Very weird vibe Sunday. What was your takeaway from the game?
Yeah, I'm sick of that game. I'm still so irritated that the Niners lost that game because every single week when the Niners lose, it's because they let teams hang around. And what did they do? They let the Seahawks hang around. They can't finish drives. They can't score touchdowns in the red zone. It's the same issues that they've had all season long. Nothing new. It's just a bunch of same small issues, penalties. The defense let down at the end because they were tired, and no Bosa, which me and you mentioned all offseason. You should have got an edge rusher. How many times did we sit here in the offseason say, get another edge rusher, get another edge rusher? They didn't do it. So, Larry, I'm irritated that they lost that game. That's my overall takeaway.
It's I feel kind of like it's too bad because it's like, individual efforts get forgotten when you lose. And Juwan Jennings' catch on third down, where he carried 3 Seattle Seahawks for the first down, was one of the best plays of the year. One of the greatest plays of the year. They threw it to him short of the sticks. They needed a first down. He had 3 defenders all over him, and he just said, you know what? I'm the big dog up in this beast, and I'm going to carry you guys 4 or 5 yards down the field. And he did, and JJ, 10 catches on 11 targets for 91 yards and a touchdown. I just, he's got the heart of a champion. He shows up and plays huge. In a lot of ways, he's one of their best players. He doesn't get credit for it, but Juwan Jennings is about as tough as they come, and he refused to talk to the media at his locker. And to me, I thought it was a very selfless thing. A lot of times guys think about themselves when they beg out of the post-game media, but this guy was basically like, hey, man, I don't want to talk positively about what I did when we just lost the game. So he just said, "Hey, I don't want to do this." And the Niner PR people tried to convince him to do it, but he was like, "No, I'm not having it. I'm not talking." And he didn't talk. And good for him. I would say good for him, just because it was going to be, "Hey, Juwan, you guys lost, but man, you were awesome." And he's not. He is a guy who shows up to win,
Yeah.
and if they don't win, he's not happy, no matter what he did.
Yeah.
I respect that.
And this is the second time this season that he opted not to talk to the media. And after a monster, like every time Juwan Jennings goes and has like a mega performance, the Niners find a way to screw it up. And it sucks because he has been out there busting his ass up, not just this year, every year. This guy was a 7th-round pick. He came off the practice squad. He's worked his way up the roster, and he's proven he's probably one of their best players in the league, in their team, like you said. And it's like, man, that whole drive was Jennings touchdown. I was like, oh my God, he didn't want this team to lose. Like, I felt like he was the one guy on offense that was trying to make sure they won the game. And after the game, yeah, you shouldn't want to talk to the media. I don't blame him. It's the second time it's happened. Super Bowl was no different. I feel bad for guys like him. And it's kind of telling that the Niners, they're just relying on like one guy on each side of the offense. Because on the opposite side of the ballgame, you had Nick Bosa, who was tearing it up. He was killing Geno Smith, playing through a hip and oblique injury. You could tell he was mustering it through, but he was having a game. The moment he went down, the defense, they flipped the switch, and they just couldn't stop Geno. Geno gutted him. We had the game-winning, touchdown run, hit the night in the Bay. Still sick of that, Larry. The defense couldn't stop him. 80-yard drive after they couldn't muster 40 yards in a drive. So it shows you how good Bosa's been this year, but it also shows you that they really rely on like one or two guys, and you can't win football games that way. It's tough.
Yeah. No, seriously. They got some great players on this team, but when those guys are out, man, the drop-off is significant. 91 yards, 10 catches for JJ and a touchdown. Pro Football Focus graded him as the highest graded 49er offensive player. D. Winters got the highest grade overall, but 82.1 overall grade for Jennings. And he ran 61.5% of his routes out wide. He led the team in yards per route run, but he didn't just lead them. He doubled the 49er receiving group. He had 2.68 yards per route run. No other 49er player was near even 1 yard for the game. 7 of his catches, Raj, went for first downs. And over the last 2 weeks, JJ's got 17 catches on 22 targets. He's on pace for his first 1,000-yard season of his career. He's sitting at 588 receiving yards. He's one of the best players on the team. There's just no question about it. He just doesn't get the credit.
I know. He's the $30 million receiver, $30 million. I tweeted that the other day. He's the guy that should deserve the big money because he plays with heart. He blocks. He catches. 1,000-yard receiver this year. I hope he gets it. I hope he gets that.
Yeah. Now let's go to your Twitter. You have on your Twitter, you have a Richard Sherman message to the 49er players.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to that right now. Let's see if I can find it. There it is. Okay. So this is Richard Sherman from earlier. And I will share the screen on this one, and you guys can take a look at this, and we'll listen to Dick Sherman talking his piece. Here it is. Here we go. Little Richard Sherman. And this is on the Richard Sherman podcast. Here he is.
Well, Richard, you were a team captain in San Francisco. You've seen and been in numerous big-time games. This season is not over for San Francisco, not yet. They still are more than capable of winning this division. What would you tell the locker room if you were still playing with the team, to try to uplift their spirits out there? Is there anything you would say to try to hype them up?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not hyping them up, but I'd be totally honest with them. We'd lock the door. Hey, coaches, y'all leave. And we'd say, hey, how much y'all want it? Like, if y'all want to go home in January, let's end this meeting now. Let's go home, start to pack up, book our vacations, and call it a year. But if y'all serious about being championship team, and you got to show it, you can't wait. You can't wait for guys to make a play. You can't wait for guys to to show up and save you. Every single person, 53 guys, have to think the game is on them. It's on your performance. And not, oh man, I wonder if Christian's going to play well today and we're going to win. Like, no, you have to be the star. You have to take responsibility for this team's win. You can't depend on anybody else. Everybody has to play with that sense of urgency. The rent is god dang due. The rent's due. You got to play like the rents do. And if you're not playing like the rents do, you're getting evicted and we going home. So if you don't care about going home and you don't care about winning championship, fold it in. But I don't think they got those guys. I don't think they got guys that's going to fold it in. So you need to play like the rents do.
Richard, you got me motivated to run through a brick wall. So I believe in the San Francisco 49ers, and I think they have those leaders that have been in those situations before ready to go. And like you said, losing a Super Bowl cannot be easy, but for them to still be in this divisional race. And at the end of the day, they got the Arizona Cardinals the last game of the season. Well, Richard,
Raj, what do you think? Are the Niners going to play like the rents do, as Richard Sherman says they need to? Or are they going to pack it in and say, you know what, there's just a lot of adversity this year. It just ain't our year.
I mean, if they're serious about making a run, he's right. They got to play like the rent is due. And it starts on Sunday. And this is it. This is the make or break game of their season. They're 5-5. You lose this game, it's pretty much done in the books. He's right. They have to come out with the focus. You can't sit there and wait and say, oh, well, this guy, we might get Greenlaw back. No, this is it. They got to go out there and play like the season's on the line, because the season really is on the line, Larry, this weekend. You lose this game, you go down to maybe a 13% chance to make the playoffs. I don't even think it's a realistic shot if you lose to the Packers, because it's not only, a loss, but it's an NFC game. You need to stay afloat in the NFC. The division's pretty, a tight race, but you can't afford losses like this down the stretch. Maybe they can afford a loss to the Bills, but other than that, the Niners need to win out. And Sherman's right. If they're a serious team, they need to come out and play firing on all cylinders. This is it. They got to play like this is the last game of the year, the Super Bowl. If there's no urgency, there's not going to be urgency the rest of the year. It's over.
What do you think, though? Do you think they're gonna come out and play with urgency, or do you think
I think they are? I mean, this is the make or break. This is it, man. If this is your season on the line, and you're the 49ers, you're absolutely coming out with everything you can. They're gonna have to play, and I think they will. I think they're gonna play with backs against the wall. I mean, this is what I expect them. They've been to the Super Bowl. They've been to the NFC Championship. I expect them to come out and play like it's all on the line here. And if they don't, we got some soul searching, but I think I'm expecting them this Sunday to come out. They say they're pissed. Lenoir this morning was on KMBR, and he says, "Hey, we're pissed off." Kyle Shanahan yesterday in the weekly conference meeting, he says we're pissed off. They're saying all that stuff. They're pissed off. If they're pissed off, they're coming out this Sunday pissed off. So we need to see it on Sunday.
It's time. I mean, you guess what? You blew some games. You threw some games away that you should have won. Now you got to win a couple games that you should lose. And Green Bay just gave up 5.5 yards a carry to Chicago. And they got to fire. They absolutely got to fire. Let's share the screen on this one. Mike Pereira was on KMBR earlier today, and this is just maddening. I mean, this thing is just absolutely maddening.
Yeah.
The Niners should have had a 4th and 1 opportunity, and instead it was 4th and 6, and they punted. Shanahan was asked if it was 4th and 1. He's like, we probably would have gone for it, but they didn't go for it. They punted. And now we're finding out that it should have been 4th and 1 instead of 4th and 6 because the officials blew the call. Mike Pereira was on KMBR with Greg Papa and Greg Silver earlier today, and we'll let you listen to it. Now, this is a long cut. This is like 7 minutes. So we're not going to play the whole 7 minutes, but here's a minute or two of this little conversation, and then we'll comment.
There was a curious play where the Niners were getting ready to punt with 2:45 to play in the game. They were facing a 4th and 6. And the line judge over on the Seattle sideline, ward number 16 yesterday, Kevin Cody, For some reason, he came running from the Seattle sideline and he stopped the game. And our initial thing was, well, they just called a timeout right before they wanted to see how the Niners were going to line in the punt formation. But of course, they called a timeout before on the throw to Juwan Jennings. And you can't call back-to-back timeouts in the NFL. Years ago, Joe Gibbs, out of retirement of the Hall of Fame, did it at Washington against Buffalo, and it was an egregious error. Do you have any idea why would Kevin Cody, the line judge, come running in and stop punt formation if, in fact, somebody from Seattle sideline did not call a timeout? Did you get any clarification on that, Michael?
Yeah, I did. And, when it happened, I was kind of in the same mode. What did he do? I mean, we didn't have a shot, what's called the all-22, where you see all 22 players in one shot. There's also an all-29, which means that you see all 22 players and the 7 officials. We didn't have that shot, so we were kind of in the dark on what had actually happened. However, when you look at the all-22 and the 29, it is clear that Seattle asked for a second timeout. And what you are to do when a team asks for a timeout, when they're not entitled to it. So either they're out of timeouts or they've already called one in that same dead ball period. What you do is ignore it. Now, it didn't get ignored. It got granted. All right. So what does the rule is? It's the National Football League. Then it is incumbent on the 7 players and replay that can get involved in penalty enforcements to at least say, hey, that make sure that they knew it was the second timeout and that is a foul. Somebody has to catch that.
Well, now you got me go. Do we know who on the Seattle sideline asked for the timeout? Did it come from Mike McDonald, the head coach?
It makes no difference. It makes no difference.
But do we know who asked for it?
Well, no, I don't know. I didn't see. I just confirmed that it was a coach that asked for it. That's all that I confirmed when they were looking at it back in New York. But they couldn't tell from the all 29 which it was. But once it's granted, it's a foul, period. So it's that's you get with all the missed face masks that we have seemed to have had. You can sometimes see how that happens. When I ran the program, I never expected perfection when it came to judgment. I expected perfection when it came to rules. And the minute that the 2 timeouts in the same dead ball period, which is what we had here, or as I said before, if they were out of timeout. So not one that the league can be very happy about. And me as a 49er
well,
fan,
wait a minute. I mean, so Kevin Cody, the line judge, comes running in and he stops it. And then he goes and talks to Brad Rogers, the Whitehead, and they go over and talk to Mike McDonald. I mean, was it a cover-up in that situation? I mean, well, why did he grant him the timeout? And where is the recourse to rescind the timeout?
Well, look, it can the ball's about ready to be snapped. Okay.
All right. Well, we've got the general gist of it here.
Yeah.
This is unfreaking believable. I mean, if you really think about this, this is unfreaking believable. Let's talk about this for a second. This was 3rd and 11 on the 47-yard line. Purdy goes to Jennings for 5 yards. They call a timeout. It's 4th and 6. The Niners come out to punt. They call another timeout. And that should have been 4th and 1 from the 36-yard line. Instead, it was 4th and 6 from the Seahawks 41-yard line. And because it was 4th and 6, the Niners punted. If it's 4th and 1, they probably can go quarterback sneak. If they go quarterback sneak, they have a first down with 2 minutes and 45 seconds left in the game, and they win the game. They win the game. Or if they give it back to Seattle, they probably don't give it back to them until inside the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
And Geno's 13-yard run at the end came with 12 seconds left on the clock. So, I mean, obviously they would have hurried it up. So you can't say, well, they for sure would have beaten Seattle. But I mean, that's a major fucking fuck up. That is a major fuck up. I mean, seriously, the 49ers may miss the playoffs. Guys may lose their jobs. This was one of the biggest calls of the day. And they're consulting with McDonald on the other sideline, I'd love to have heard that conversation. What did they say to him? I mean, what exactly did they say to him? Hey, by the way, you just called 2 timeouts. You know, we probably should call a penalty on you, but we're not going to. I mean, what are we talking about? And mob schools like excuses. This is a major call in the game. If it's 4th and 1 from the 36, you quarterback sneak it, you win the game.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, yes, you could sit here and say it's excuses. There's other reasons why you lost, blah, blah, blah. This could have changed the whole complexion of the game, because had the 49ers went for it on 4th and 1, which, I mean, then you have to ask yourself, do you think they'd go for it? Kyle said they would. I believe they would. 4th and 1, it's a big spot. You go for it. If you get a first down, you probably have a higher opportunity to win that game. Better. I mean, they went from like a 90% chance to win, and then they had to punt it, and we saw Geno, and then boom, they lost the game. So,
and look at the game, Raj.
Get that opportunity, because you saw the defense was letting Geno run up and down him once Bosa was out. If you can keep that ball away from him, you probably have a chance to win that game. And that was so frustrating that when I saw that today, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? How the hell did it just shows you how inept, how bad the refs are in the NFL. It's not just for the 49ers. It's across the league. These refs have been so piss poor. And it sucks because they decide a lot of these games. It's not just been the Niner games. I've seen so many games that have been decided by just horrible calls by the refs. Like, this is their job. Get it right. It's like people slam Moody, right? Do your job. Kick the field goal. The refs, you have one job to make sure the rules are, followed every week. And they just seem to fail on a weekly basis. It's sickening, man. That I'm not going to blame the loss on this call, but it definitely was a factor.
Well, okay, I understand. Okay, we all understand there's a lot of factors that go into the game, and it's weak to blame officials' calls, period. But this isn't just a judgment call that just didn't go the Niners' way. This was a call, a call that's on the books. This is a rule that was ignored in the biggest moment of the game. That the loss, if the Niners had won that game, they have a 66% chance of making the playoffs. They now have a 32% chance of making the playoffs. That was a big fucking call. A huge call. I mean, the NFL has no problem when, reviewing the film and saying, Fred Warner, we're going to take $11,000 out of your pocket. Nick Bosa, we're going to take $11,000 out of your pocket because of what you did. How much money are you going to take out of the NFL's pocket for that one? I mean, what if the 49ers don't make the playoffs? I mean, that call very well could have cost the 49ers the playoffs. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
At the end of the day, again, the refs have screwed up so many calls this year in the NFL league-wide, and it sucks, man. They need to be held accountable. I think you're right that the refs at some point need to be held accountable for their screw-up, because that sucks. Okay, the game's over, and then the next day, oh, by the way, that's what sucks about this, because you hear like stuff 2 days later. Oh, the refs missed the call. It would have been this. Well, why are we hearing about it after the fact when it should have been decided at that moment? Like, that's why you pause the games. That's why you have these timeouts. That's why you review it to get it right, and you still don't get the call right. It's like as a fan, you're like, okay, what does that do for me when you admit it that you were wrong? After the game, it's already over. The decision's over. You lost the game. What's that do to me as a fan? Like, what am I supposed to do with that information other than be pissed off,
Yeah. KC's like, explain the other 4 losses to non-winning teams. I'm not KC. How stupid are you? I'm not saying that the 49ers should have a perfect record if it wasn't for the officials. I'm not even saying that the 49ers losses are in any way illegitimate. They're all legitimate. You're right. They're a flawed team this year. They've lost games that they shouldn't have lost. Separate that. That's totally a separate argument from this. This is a call that was screwed up in the game that literally cost them probably the game. And maybe it will cost them a playoff appearance. So it's actually kind of a huge freaking deal. And to me, it's unbelievable that you have and I guess my question would be this: how much do you blame the Niners?
Well,
How
that's
much
the
do
other
you
question.
blame the Niners? How much do you now? Obviously, they didn't screw up the call. The officials screwed up the call. But how much do you blame the Niners for not getting in the face of the officials and telling them, "Hey, you screwed up this call. This is the call." Did they know the rule, or did they get caught like they got caught in overtime in
Yeah,
the Super
I was just gonna say,
kind of knowing the rules, but not really, and not really questioning it, and not really challenging the officials. And I don't know. Shanahan looked like he was. You could see in that video, you could see Shanahan saying something about the timeouts. He was taking issue with the timeouts. I don't know what he said about it, but he definitely took issue with it.
yeah, maybe he wasn't vocal enough. And at the end of the day, I blame the Niners for putting themselves in that position to be, given a chance to lose that game in the first place. They shouldn't have been in that position. If you score,
But
if you
it's
finish
separate.
your drives,
Yeah. They could. They
at
had
the end of
football
the day,
things
the
they could have
Niners are
done.
losing. Like, I get it. That play
Yeah,
definitely was a huge play, Larry. That could have changed the tide of the game. But the whole bottom line of this season is they're 5-5 because they're letting teams hang around. They're finding ways to let teams beat them. Like, that's it. They're shooting themselves in the foot. But those types of things are minor things that can change the complexity of the game. And I 100%. Maybe they should have been more vocal. Maybe Kyle should have screamed at the ref. Throw a challenge flag, whatever you got to do. Do something to get some attention, because that was a huge play. And like Kyle said, he goes, "Oh yeah, I would have ran a play and went for it." So say something. You need to have that opportunity. So I don't know how vocal he was. I mean, you never know what's going on the sidelines. You don't know what they're saying. Like you said, you would have liked to hear what McDonald was talking about. I would love to be a fly on the wall for that.
But this is the area that when people say, "Oh, Kyle needs help," this is an area where if you have somebody in your ear who knows the rules and is telling you, "Hey, they just called 2 timeouts. This is a did they have somebody who knew the rule yelling and screaming about it and were ignored, or did they not know the rule? Did they not bring it up to the official? I don't know, but it's just unbelievable that a call of that magnitude in a sport where there's this much money on the line would go uncalled. And somebody could call 2 timeouts and not have a 5-yard penalty, and a 5-yard penalty in that situation changes the game. I mean, changes the game. So it's just it sucks. I'm not saying that, oh my God, the Niners are getting screwed by the officials and nobody else is. I'm kind of blaming the Niners a little bit. Look, go back to the Philadelphia playoff game, the NFC Championship game. That was, you had Afonga saying incomplete. You had Jalen Hurts sprinting down to the other side of the field to get a play called on time. You had 2 different indicators that you needed to challenge it, and you didn't. So maybe Kyle's got too many things going on. Maybe he's wearing a few too many hats. Maybe they should have somebody who questioned that Eagles call. Maybe they should have questioned this call. I don't know. Maybe they did. But man, what a bitter loss this was. What a crushing loss this was. And potentially what a screwed up call this was. So whatever. You win some, you lose
it
some.
made the loss worse. When I saw that, I was just like, I was already mad because you lose a division game to the Seahawks out of all teams, and then you see something like that, you're just like, okay, throw salt on the wounds. Again, like, what are you supposed to do with that information? It's like, okay, the Niners got screwed. What am I now? What does that do? You're going to change the score of the game? You can't do anything about it. So it's like, fuck. Now we just pissed.
Yaffe. Karen Kruger, stop crying. Fuck off, Yaffe. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to say goodbye, goodbye, Yaffe. I don't think we need you anymore here in here, Yaffe.
Wow.
Seriously, don't call me Karen Kruger. I'm bringing up an actual point that happened in the game, and it was blatant. It was absolutely blatant. And maybe it's the 49ers' fault. Maybe the 49ers should have questioned it. There you go. You just got ejected. Yaffe just got ejected.
Sure, they should have questioned. I honestly, the Niners are throwing their season away because they make some stupid mistakes. But that situation could have changed everything. If they would have won that game, I'd feel a lot more confident going down the rest of this season.
We have to say goodbye to somebody else in here too. I got to say goodbye to somebody else in here. Whatever. I mean, you bring up anything you want. here we go. Goodbye. Goodbye.
Oh man, he
Couple guys
gone.
getting booted. He gone. See you, jabroni. No, but I mean, come on, man. Come on. I mean, seriously, that is just so bad. I mean, that just makes already bad game so much worse. I mean, you could see Greg Papa was sitting there in like disbelief doing this interview with Pereira. Like, what? What? This could have been the game right there. Big D Trump says, Larry, come on, dude, freedom of speech. No, it's not freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want. I don't have to sit there and look at it. I definitely don't have to look at it. Hit the road. That's what I would say. All right, let's go Better. This live stream is sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. Use Better to make daily fantasy lineups and win real money. Download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners to get your first deposit matched up to $200. Everyone who does is automatically entered to win a free signed Fred Warner jersey. We will announce the winner at the end of November. We were big winners last week, Raj. I don't know if we can do it again, but we were big winners last week. Who do we want to go with here? Do you want to go? Purdy's got a sore shoulder. Let's go to Purdy. Let's see what Purdy's stats are. We've got 250 and a half passing yards. That's it. That's it for Purdy.
It's not bad. Packers defense good, but I can see that.
You like more than 250? That seems a little high for me.
Yeah, with the sore shoulder, I'm gonna pass on that. I don't know how his shoulder's gonna be.
Let's go Kittle. Let's see what Kittle's stats are.
Yeah, we need
58 and a half receiving yards for Kittle. He didn't play this week. That was another crusher. You didn't have Kittle, and then Saubert shows up sick. So more
he was still in the game.
58.6 for Kittle.
I'll take that. I like that.
You like 58.6 or more?
I like more than that. I think Kittle have a big game.
Okay, let's go more than 58.6 on Kittle. Let's check out Jennings, because Jennings is been really good.
He's cooking. He's the man.
59 and a half receiving yards for Jennings.
Wide receiver 1. Yeah, it should be easy work for him.
I would say more. Let's go more there for Jennings. Let's go to Christian Watson. Christian Watson's hot. He had 150 receiving yards this last week. Yeah, 43 and a half receiving yards. Let's go more. More for Christian Watson.
You don't think Demo's going to lock him up?
No, he had 150 this last game. He's got tons of speed. He's their big guy.
Do we got a Jordan Love interception? He's always good for interception, or is it just yards?
Let's see, Jordan Love. No, they just have the 246, 245 and a half passing yards. I think we're good. Let's go Tucker Kraft, I should say. Tucker Kraft, not to be confused with Tyler Croft.
Tucker
Kraft, 34 and a half receiving yards. I like that more as well. He's having a really good year.
Yeah, and if he's lined up against Devondre Campbell, that's easy money for him.
Yeah, I mean, my gun, that's free money. All right, let's see what we got. That's free money. You're lined up against D. Campbell, Mr. No Lateral Agility. I think, Campbell. What can I say?
Bad, dude.
All right, so let's see. We got Kittle over 58 and a half receiving yards. Jennings more than 59 and a half receiving yards. Watson more than 43 and a half receiving yards. Kraft more than 34 and a half receiving yards. No, we're good. Let's go with that. We got 2 each. And let's wager. Let's put in our amount. We're going to wager 10. We can win 100. That's right.
We win
100 $100. I feel good.
We winning.
So once again, download the app below. Make sure you use the promo code Niners to get your first deposit matched up to $200. The live stream sponsored by Better, the official daily fantasy sponsor of the Krug Show. Everyone who does is automatically entered to win a free signed Fred Warner jersey. We will announce the winner at the end of November. All right, there you go. Thanks to Better for being a proud sponsor of the Krug Show. All right, couple other things I want to get to here. One, Kev has some interesting stuff on his Twitter about the lack of separation from the receivers. I don't know. I mean, this was some good statistical breakdown here by Kev. And I'll just share the screen so you guys can see this. and I went with this tonight on KMBR. This is the NFL average separation when targeted. 2.97 yards. Here's where the Niners are. Brandon Ayuk on the year, 2.4. Deebo Samuel, 2.6. JJ, 2.5. Pearsall, 2.2. And he was like 1.4 or something in his 2 targets against Seattle. He was even worse. So all the 49ers receivers. So people are saying, well, I've heard a couple people say, I'm so tired of hearing people talk about the 49ers receivers and the separation. Well, people are talking about it because it's a story. People are talking about it because it's a legitimate issue. When the NFL average is 2.97, and the Niners were leading the NFL a year ago in yards after the catch and run after the catch. This year, they're at the bottom, near the bottom of the league, and none of their receivers are getting any separation. 2.4, 2.6, 2.5, 2.2. I mean, and what do those guys have in common? They're all pretty fucking slow.
Yeah.
And that's a slow group of wide receivers there. There's not a 4-3 guy in the bunch. Pearsall runs 4-4 for the stopwatch, but I'd question whether he's that fast watching him on the field. Jennings ran 4.76, so he's really slow. Deebo, whatever he ran, he's not nearly as fast as he was when he came out. That's clear. He can't even get 2 yards on an end around. And Brandon Ayuk's out for the year, but he wasn't looking all that good, and definitely didn't look as fast this year as last year. So there you go. There's the issue. They don't get separation because none of their guys separate. None of their guys have speed. They didn't add a speed receiver at the deadline. I talked about Tutu Atwell. Tutu Atwell would have changed their fortunes dramatically. They have Cowing and Garendo. And guess what? It's time for them to use Cowing and Garendo. Otherwise, it's going to be Niner receivers blanketed in coverage the rest of the year.
No, you're right. And the thing is, I know they're slow. I know they can't get, past the press coverage off the line, and that's been an issue for these guys. And they get banged up. A guy like Deebo, he's dealt with pneumonia. He's been banged up, and his separation has been bad. He's leading the team in separation, which is not great when you see those numbers. Jennings is amazing, but, he's not getting big separation numbers. Now, the thing is, sometimes if you watch the film, these guys are open. It's just not getting the ball because sometimes, Larry, they don't have enough time. I think it's a combination of, not enough time. Sometimes Brock doesn't have that time from the O-line. And then sometimes I feel that, obviously they're not separating. They're not able to beat the man coverage. So that's a stressful part of it. But I think it's a combination of those things. Sometimes the play calling is weird. Like, I don't see them doing the checkdowns a lot this year. Play action is not working. It's just a multitude of factors. But bottom line, you're right, Larry. A lot of them are just slow. And Cowing's got a concussion. So that's not
right. Good. So, just use Garendo. Put him outside. Who can? Since you're just using most of the deep ball guys in the league are not big-time receivers. They're just running off the coverage. So use Garendo outside and let him run off the coverage. Why is that so complicated? Why is that so difficult? Why is that wrinkle why are they so unable to come up with any kind of creative wrinkle that creates space? Where's the creative wrinkle that has gotten Cowing or Garendo on the field so that they can impact the game? I want to sit there and be like, yeah, they're creative, but if you have 2 guys who run sub 4.4 and you don't get them on the field, what are we doing? What exactly is the game plan if you're not going to put your speed out there on the field? I don't get it. I don't get it. Very frustrating. Demo Lenoir went on KMBR. He says, everyone's pissed off. Every game that we've lost this year, we've been leading in the 4th. There's this urgency now. It's time to come together and just put teams to bed when we have it. Ain't no such as bad weather, just soft people. Last time I went to Green Bay, I won. So what do you think? I love Lenoir, man. He will speak his truth. He will give you his opinion. I don't know. Is it too late? If the Niners could flip a switch and play with more urgency, man, if they should have flipped that switch 3 weeks ago. I don't know. At this point, it might be too late. Is it too late?
Right.
What do you think?
It might be too late. I mean, I love his tenacity. I love that he talks and he tries to back it up. And, Lenoir, now he's got the big bucks. He wants to speak like a leader. And I respect that out of him. But if you're just now saying that there's an urgency now, it's too late. You should have said this 3, 4. You should have said this weeks ago, Larry. Like, if you're just now saying there's an urgency, that's too late. But hopefully they've had this sentiment longer than just this week. But yeah, like I said, this is it. Season on the line, honestly, Larry, against the Packers. If the 49ers lose this game, it doesn't matter how urgent the rest of these games are. They can't expect to make the playoffs by losing this game against Green Bay. You got to win. This is a must-win game.
Are they getting the Packers at the right time? The Packers are 7-3, but they're coming off a game where they needed a last-second blocked field goal to beat the Bears at Soldier. The Bears ran for 5.3 a carry.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift ran for 5.1 a carry. Caleb himself got loose and ran for 70 yards. But I mean, the Bears ran it effectively. They really did. And the Bears offense, which has been bad, really showed up and played well in this game. What do you think? Are they catching Green Bay at the right time, or was that just a division game on the road? And you know what? The Niners are going to get a much tougher, better Green Bay team on Sunday.
I mean, I think part of it is a division matchup. Obviously, those games always are a little closer than a standard game. But, the Bears running up and down that field was surprising to me, and because the Packers have a great defense. They did shut them out of the red zone, and they didn't let them score much, and it came down to a last, second type of the game. So it was a down-to-the-wire game. Packers escaped. That's what I said in that game. It's not that they won. They escaped that game. And I feel like maybe the Packers were looking ahead. Maybe it was a trap game because they were looking ahead to the Niners. Niners have had their number. I think this is a perfect opportunity for the Niners to get a win against a team that's kind of fragile right now. They almost lost. This is tough games of the season. Jordan Love, if there's any, again, silver lining in this game, Jordan Love is susceptible to turnovers we mentioned earlier. I think they can get to him. I think they can cause some turnovers. I think they can, take advantage of that. The Niners have to be aggressive. They got to show they're the bullies. I think that's one thing the Niners have got away from, like their identity of being this like aggressive, hit you in the mouth team that the other teams are scared of. I don't think teams are scared of the Niners. And this is a perfect opportunity to show that we are bullies. We're stronger than you, because if not, Packers are a very tough physical team. And if they don't assert themselves, Larry, the Packers are going to come out and be the bullies in this one.
I think what's going to happen is the Packers are going to make Warner and Campbell cover. In this last game against Seattle completed 9 for 9 against Warner and Campbell. 9 for 9. That's just too easy. And Warner only had 3 tackles all day. They really need to be better. I would bench Campbell for Winters. It would infuriate Campbell because he's, that would embarrass him too, because he's going up against his former team.
Yeah. Revenge
but you
game.
know what? Who gives a shit? I mean, play your best players. I don't give a shit about offending anybody. I really don't. Play your best fucking players. D. Winters had your highest PFF grade. He played 10 goddamn snaps. Play your best fucking players, please. It's not that complicated. Campbell stinks. He has no lateral agility. I don't care if it's goddamn homecoming for him. I don't give a shit. Put your best players on the field. If you lose this game, you are done. So enough, going with your second best player or your third best player. It's like, come on, put your best players on the field. You're not one of the better teams in the NFL, but you're really not one of the better teams in the NFL if you're going to play your second best player at every position. Don't play your second best player. Play your best player. That would be my message to Sorensen. Sorensen doesn't seem like he either it's not his call, or he doesn't get it, or he's just trying to say whatever he needs to say to get through these press conferences, but he doesn't inspire any confidence at all.
He doesn't have that energy. Like, he doesn't have that like tenacity. I don't even think they showed him on the sidelines other than maybe once or twice this season. It's after a bad play. Like, I get it. He's a new DC, and we've had new DCs. Like, Salah was a new guy when he came up, and D'Amico, but they just seem to have more passion for the game than Sorensen. I don't know. I think, however the season ends, whether it's good or bad, you got to move on from him. And I think you need an established, like, really veteran, bona fide defensive coordinator. I just don't think Sorensen's the guy. You're right. Sometimes he doesn't make the right calls on the best players. He lets people kind of linger that probably shouldn't be there. Campbell's the great example. Play your younger guys. They have talent. Let them develop. It's just frustrating to watch this defense because they have so much talent, but they're not playing as talented as they are. You know what I mean? Like, they're not playing at the level that we expect them to play. You got Fred Warner. Man's let up a catch almost every play the last 30 targets. It's crazy. And Fred Warner is having to make up for the poor play of Devondre Campbell. And I think he's trying to also make up for the fact they don't have Dre Greenlaw. And it sucks because, okay, imagine Dre Greenlaw comes back. They expect him to come back to practice next week. Now, if the Niners season is kind of dwindling and they lose these next two games, like, is it even worth bringing Dre Greenlaw back after a major injury? Like, would you want to risk him getting hurt? It's a tough. There's a lot of questions. It's unfortunate that this defense hasn't played at the level they wanted to, but there have been stretches where the defense is like, okay, they're making plays, and then they get tired, and then a player gets hurt, and then the offense can't help them out. So, I don't know. It's a multitude of factors in that sense, but
they cave. I mean, they cave at the most inopportune times. They're sixth in total defense. They're eighth against the run, eighth against the pass, sixth most interceptions in the game, but they're 14th in sacks with 26, and they're 16th in points allowed because they're not good in the red zone. Yeah. And in what really sucks about this defense is that they don't answer the bell in the fourth quarter. The 49er defense has allowed points in every fourth quarter in all 10 games this season. Last year under Steve Wilkes, they held opponents scoreless in the fourth quarter in 11 games. 11 games they held teams scoreless in the fourth quarter. Teams have scored points in the fourth quarter in every game this year.
Yeah, it's crazy because if you look at what happened, they got rid of Wilkes. Kyle was soured on him, and they said he's the reason. And you bring in Sorensen, he, to me, has done nothing to make this defense better. Like, I don't think they've gotten better. That's what you want when you hire a new DC. You expect them to be a better defense. And I 100% don't think they've improved. And like you said, the fact of the matter is once they get to the fourth quarter, they've lost their leads. And it's because the defense falls apart at the worst time possible. I mean, sometimes it's, maybe they're tired because the offense isn't helping them, but it's a consistent pattern. Almost every week, they've fallen apart. They let leads go. I mean, hell, the Cowboys almost came back and beat them. CeeDee Lamb bleeded them out that night. And I was like, oh, no, don't sit here and tell me we're going to lose. But that's it. Every week, fourth quarter comes, and I'm literally just stressed to the max, Larry, because I don't know if they're going to be able to hold a lead.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, they've gotten pushed to the brink at this point. One of the interesting articles, I think, written by the Niners in the last week was Matt Barrows did a great piece on Evan Anderson. And he talked about, I don't know if you read it in The Athletic, Raj, but it's really good. Talks about how the Niners, that Chris Kasarik called him after the draft. And then they had a bunch of teams. Seattle was one of them that wanted to sign Evan Anderson as an undrafted free agent. And Chris Kasarik would never let him off the phone. This is a kid who one time weighed 377 pounds at Florida Atlantic in 2020, and he even played a little lacrosse in high school.
I saw that.
Fractured a kid's skull playing lacrosse. I played lacrosse in college and in high school. I'd love to know what exactly he did with his stick to fracture another kid's skull. But he said it was a clean play. Tom Herman was his coach at Florida Atlantic. He coached Poona Ford. He coached Ed Oliver. And he basically said if Ed Oliver's a 10 as far as movement ability, he says Evan Anderson's a 9. So he's only 22. He's the second youngest player on the team to Malik Mustafa. And he's been absolutely outstanding. To me, Evan Anderson would be the biggest positive surprise of the year. Give me your biggest positive surprise. Give me your biggest negative surprise on the team this year, in your mind.
Yeah, for sure. And it's nice to see that there has been some silver linings on this team, and a lot of it has been that rookie class. Like Evan Anderson, unbelievable, undrafted. I saw he posted about that on Instagram about the lacrosse thing. There was like a post, some Max Preps or some page posted about. So I saw that story. I was like, oh, that was crazy. This guy's a strong mother, But he's definitely among them. To me, the strongest positive has been the development of Dominic Pooney, man. Like this guy, absolutely fantastic. I mean, you can say that about many of the rookies, right? Mustafa Green, et cetera, et cetera. They're all been good. But Dominic Pooney, legit, is a Pro Bowl caliber offensive lineman. He's a rookie. They've needed linemen. This has been like, oh, man, this guy's not let up at a quarterback hit. He has not let up a quarterback sack through the whole season. He's a rookie, Larry. This guy has been playing outstanding ball. I think he's been the best offensive lineman on this entire roster, this season. I know they have Trent Williams. Dominic Pooney, man, you watch the film, it's like, wow, every week he's plowing guys. He's run, playing great in run blocking. He's being really good in pass protection, as we noticed. No sacks, no QB hits. Fantastic. I love the fact that they got this guy and they hit on him. And yeah, he's a future just star with the Niners at offensive line. They needed a guy like this. And to me, Pooney has been that guy. So yeah, he to me has
Pooney's
been the biggest
a great
positive.
one. That's a great one. He's been a plug and play guy. I'll put Anderson over Pooney just because Pooney was a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
And
sure.
not that I had super high expectations, but I had more expectations for Pooney than I had for Anderson. I had absolutely no expectations of Anderson. I shouldn't say none. I actually had pretty high expectations once I gave him $280,000 guaranteed, because that's far and away more than they've ever given any undrafted rookie free agent.
Yeah.
So Anderson to me is the positive surprise. Give me your negative surprise. Who's been somebody that you're like, you know what? I was hoping for this and I'm getting that.
Yeah, for sure. And I agree with you. Evan Anderson, undrafted. That's definitely a huge surprise. There's a couple of them, Larry. There's a couple of them. I'm going to go with the guy that I thought was going to have a just big 2nd-year leap, be a star, kind of maybe Pro Bowl caliber player. I just haven't seen that out of him. Again, there's been a lot of these players, but I think Jair Brown has been that guy. I just didn't see enough out of him. He seems slow. He lacks coverage skills. I just haven't been impressed with him. I know he had an interception here and there a couple times a game, but you expect that out of him. He's supposed to be a playmaker. They drafted him last year. He was their crown jewel of the draft class, and I just haven't seen enough out of him. Hopefully he can continue to get better. But to me, again, there's a lot of them. I can sit here, go down a list, but I just was so hyped up out of Jair Brown. And I expected him to just go out there and be like Fred Warner caliber player. I thought he was going to be like Fred Warner good, and he's not that good.
He has kind of regressed a little bit in year 2. I'm going to go with a year 2 guy as well. I'm going to go with Robert Beal. I mean, this guy is 6'4", 260. He looks like a monster. He has no sacks. He has no hits on the quarterback. He has no TFLs. He's played 10 games.
He's bad, dude. Yeah, that's
10
a good one.
games. No sacks, no quarterback hits, no tackles for loss. 10 games. That is hugely disappointing. Yeah. He's, to me, very disappointing. Come on, you're 6'4", 255, and you're ripped, and you run sub 4.5, and you can't do anything. No sacks, no hits, no impact, no memorable plays, no TFLs, no nothing. Wow. I mean, that's
not even a TFL, not single one.
You didn't one time bust through the line and tackle somebody in the backfield, not once the whole year in 10 games. That's disappointing. He's been hugely disappointing. And then I would say the other one, that's on defense. On offense, I'd say Jake Brendel. I mean, Chris Forster keeps telling me how great Jake Brendel is, and then I look at PFF, and PFF keeps telling me how terrible he is. I mean, PFF and Chris Forster do not see eye to eye on Jake Brendel at all.
Yeah.
Chris Forster talks about Jake Brendel like he is like like a Pro Bowler. Like he's like one of the he's the creme de la creme of centers.
He sucks.
Pro Football
He's
Focus
so
is like this guy's outhouse. This guy's just a non-factor. This guy's awful. This guy's one of the worst offensive linemen in the sport. So something's got to give. Either Forster's full of shit or PFF is fucked up, but somebody's wrong because they both can't be right. Jake Brendel can't be the guy that Forster sees and the guy that PFF sees.
No, I mean, Forster's going to go to bat for his guy, but forget PFF. Watch the film, Larry. Jake Brendel is absolutely terrible. You watch the film, and I'm like, oh, man, every time he's getting pushed around, he misses. Jake Brendel is bad. He is not it. I think he's definitely one of the biggest negative spots, but I didn't expect much out of him. I know in the offseason, I just wasn't high on Brendel. I mean, I get it. Good for him. He's a journeyman that became a starter, but I did not think he was starting caliber. I was worried coming into the season saying, I don't want Jake Brendel to be the starting center. We had him last year. He wasn't great. What's it going to change this year? All of a sudden, he's going to be great in his second year as a starter. He's 31 years old. He's a journeyman, and he got a job because he stuck around and they needed a center. So definitely a negative spot. But to me, the biggest negative spot on offense is Brandon Ayuk. You know, I know he had the injury. It's unfortunate, but
yeah,
the season it was a bad season for him. The offseason contract, everything. He came in, he didn't look good when he did, and now he's out for the season. It was just horrible, horrible year for him. Who knows when he's coming back, Larry, because it's ACL, MCL, meniscus. That was pretty much the biggest negative because now you have, as we mentioned earlier, guys that can't separate. It's been tough on the receiver group. Debo's not looking great. You know, Jennings has been the star receiver. And other than that, it just hasn't seemed to have much chemistry, anybody with Brock. And Brock's not getting those big passes. He's not getting the big yardage like we expected. And I don't know. I feel like a lot of it spiraled out of the whole BA situation. To me, that was the biggest negative spot on the offense.
Yeah, I mean, that's been a huge frustration point for sure. Bozzy Mian says, we drafted Drake Nugent. Either put Feliciano in at center or let's try out Drake Nugent. Demote Brendel. Yeah, I mean, seriously, I get the feeling that Drake Nugent is going to be pretty good. I get the feeling that Feliciano or Drake Nugent might be upgrades on Brendel. But if you never ever try to put anybody else out there, I mean, I don't know what game they're watching. They're not watching the same game I'm watching. The game I'm watching, Brendel's getting ricocheted around, and guys, I mean, he just looks bad. He just looks really bad. But they love him. They absolutely love him.
Love him.
I wish somebody would love me the way that the Niners love Jake Brendel.
Yeah.
Come on. All right. Yeah. I mean, seriously. Kev put this one, or this is on Kev's Twitter. This is Baldy sharing his thoughts on Sorensen. So we're gonna play this here. I'm gonna share the screen.
You don't like it.
Let's see. Here we go. Here it is. Here's Baldy on the radio this morning on the FM talking about Nick Sorensen. Here it is.
You think they should have maybe blitzed more because Greg Olson was on the broadcast. They saying, man, one blitz here. And Nick Bosa, he was on the field, Seattle averaged 3.3 yards a play. He left the game early third quarter, Baldy. Seattle started averaging 6 yards a play. So without your premier pass rusher, Leonard Floyd's obviously going to get the attention on the other side. Do you think Sorensen maybe should have dialed up more pressures? Now, I know that puts a lot of stress on your young secondary, but something's got to give here. You got to either get some pressure on Gino. He got way too comfortable in that second half.
It was too easy. It's easy for Greg. I mean, look, I don't disagree with Greg at all. But even when they did blitz, I mean, it was just Fred Warner just kind of fitting in as a fifth rusher. There wasn't anything overloads or free hitters. They don't really know how to do that. I'm not here to throw Nick Sorensen under the bus, but they don't, as opposed to, Steve Spagnuolo and some of these other teams in this league that are good blitzing teams, they just don't know how to get a free hitter to the quarterback. They just don't dial it up. They don't overload. They don't disguise. And so they're pretty bland in what they do.
Wow. I mean, that's
crazy.
He's not lying, Larry.
That's that's not exactly the ringing endorsement for give Nick Sorensen a fucking 3-year extension. I mean, my God, they don't know how to dial it up. They don't know do any overloads. They're not creative. I mean, what would you say Sorensen does here then? I mean, come on. I mean, why did the Niners want this guy as the defensive coordinator if he can't dial up a blitz? He doesn't know, I mean, to hear Baldy say it, he made Sorensen sound awful there.
Yeah, he's bad, man. He hit it right on the head. They don't seem like they're creative. They don't seem to know what they're doing on defense. And I think that's the inexperience in Sorensen. He's not a defensive coordinator. This is his first year. I think he's learning on the fly. You can't have that. If you're a Super Bowl contender, you can't have your defensive coordinator that's just a brand new guy that, oh yeah, he knows the team, he knows the system, he's a team guy, we'll promote him. No, you need a guy that's a bona fide star. And honestly, I'm going to say this. I think the 49ers wanted Brandon Staley as their DC. That's why they brought him in, but he didn't get the job because I think people would have been like, oh, what the hell? They were going to question it because they questioned the fact that they interviewed him, Larry. People are like, whoa, I don't want Staley. And I think Kyle likes Staley. I've seen him so many times around him. You see him at training camp. You've seen him at all these like he's always close to Staley. I feel like he wanted Staley because I think they're good friends off the field. But in order to justify bringing Staley, they're like, okay, we're going to make Nick the DC guy. He could be the name. I just really think they wanted Staley, but they would have got a backlash from fans in the league. So in order to make that happen, they're like, oh yeah, we'll have Sorensen as the DC guy. So I don't know. And again, he's a new defensive coordinator. You can't have that. If you're a Super Bowl team, you can't just have a guy learning the ropes as your DC. It doesn't work. That's why I think they're lost and confused. This guy has no clue on what he's doing. Sorensen needs to go.
I'm not going to push back on that at all. I mean, I'm just not. I don't like the answers he gives me. I felt like Wilkes had more answers for the questions last year than Sorensen has this year. When you ask Sorensen a tough question, he just filibusters on some point and then just stops talking and it doesn't really address it. I know Warner likes him, but I need more than that.
Cares. You need more than a friend.
Yeah,
you need a good coach. I need a good coach. I don't care if they're your friends.
Shanahan needs a star defensive coordinator. He needs a defensive coordinator that he doesn't have to ever deal with. He can just be like, you know what, this guy's running my D. That's why Belichick made sense. That's why Spags makes sense. I'd love to know what the Niners offered those guys as far as dollar compensation, because go pay somebody who's great to be your defensive coordinator, and go find somebody who's proven. And at this point, it just seems like as soon as Bosa went out, I mean, I could tell you, okay, Nick's going out. You've been doing a lot of, you've been leaning on your front four to get it done, but now Nick's going out. So now you can't really lean on your front four as much as you have when Nick was in the game, right? That makes sense. Mm-hmm. Did they send a bunch of exotics? No. And then when it was clear that Yatir Gross-Matos was cooked and he had nothing left, they brought Demo Lenoir off the edge on the second to last play of the game and asked Devondre Campbell to cover Jackson Smith and the Jigba in the flat. And he, of course, couldn't cover him. And then he came back and missed the tackle. And it's like, dude, what are you thinking that you would? I realize Yatir Gross-Matos had nothing, and so you had to dial up some pressure somewhere. But you're gonna send a pressure that essentially gets Jackson Smith and the Jigba in a one-on-one with Devondre Campbell. And what do you think? What do you think Gino did? He went right to JSN, right to him,
as he should. Sorensen's an amateur, bro. He's an amateur. He's a new again. He's a first-time DC, and it's showing. It's showing so blatantly. Like, he doesn't know how to mix people up. He doesn't know how to use his talent. He has some great talent on that defense, but he's not utilizing it right. To put Devondre Campbell on JSN, you deserve to lose that.
Seriously. And then you leave Campbell on the field. when Gino starts running, he's got a 10-yard gap between him and Gino. He
That
didn't
was
get
sick,
anywhere
Larry.
close to Gino. Nowhere close to Gino. And Winters runs well, and he got 10 snaps, and he was the highest graded player on the defense, according to PFF.
Sick.
But no.
Legend has it, Larry, that
Campbell
Devondre
time.
Campbell's still out there trying to run him down. He's still out there trying to run him down. That's the last time I heard. That's how.
I mean, come on.
Come on, man.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that this guy's out there.
Joke, bro.
All right, two last ones. Isaac Yadam. He says, in my mind, we're still a great team. What's going on there? Or is that just a guy who was in New Orleans last year who's just happy to be here? We're still a great team. A great team. You're 5-5.
I mean, he's probably comparing it to his experience. Yeah, maybe he's right. Oh, we're a good team. Also, he's a player that's going to say great things because maybe he doesn't want to get his spot cut on the depth chart because he did get some more playing time these last couple of weeks. So he's probably got to say the right things. He's not going to throw the team under the bus. You know, he's a guy that came in on the offseason. He's not like Lenoir, who's going to keep it 100 and say, no, we suck. We need to win every game. Everything's a must-win game. Like, you got certain players that are allowed to say what they want to say and keep it 100. But, you know, I think Yadam doesn't have that respect to go out there and say, oh, yeah, we suck. And, of course, he's going to say they're a great team. But I think if he would have said anything else, he might lose some reps out there.
All right, last one. Let's talk about today on Niners Nightly on KMBR. I brought up, it seems like people are jumping off the Purdy and Shanahan bandwagon.
Mm-hmm.
You know, one guy's like, hey, I love Brock Purdy, but I don't want to pay him $60 million. I don't care if it's the going rate or not. That's too much for anybody who's not named Mahomes. And he says, I would try to slow play the extension and maybe explore alternative quarterbacks because this guy doesn't want to pay Purdy $60 million. There's other people that are turning on Kyle Shanahan and feel like, you know, Shanahan needs to be fired. I probably got 20 comments on the post game Sunday night about Shanahan needs to be fired.
Damn.
And, you know, here's the thing. I'm looking at the 49ers breakdown, their statistical breakdown. Okay. They haven't had CMC a lot of the year. Ayuk's done for the year. Debo is a shadow of what he used to be. So with all that going on, the Niners are still number 2 in total offense. They're number 7 in rush offense. They're number 4 in pass offense. They're number 1 in the NFL in time of possession average. So, when Shanahan was hired, I mean, if you look at the Niners from 2022, 2023, they were the top offense in points per drive. They were second in explosive play rate. The 49ers, I think issues are more personnel related. But I mean, a lot of people want to hold Shanahan's feet to the fire. They've been in the NFC Championship game in 4 of the last 5 years. He's 8-4 in the playoffs. He's been to 2 Super Bowls. People say he's never won a big game. By definition, he's won 2 NFC Championship games. He's gone to Super Bowls with 2 different quarterbacks, neither of which many people feel is any good. So it's like, if you don't think Purdy's good, then isn't Shanahan really pretty amazing? Because nobody really thinks Jimmy's any good. And Shanahan went to a Super Bowl with both those guys. Now, he didn't win it, but where are you, Raj, with Kyle and Brock? Is Brock the guy long-term? Is Kyle the guy long-term? Are you having second thoughts about Brock's contract? Are you having second thoughts about Kyle in any way because of the struggles this year? Where are you with the central figures in the Niner organization, the head coach and the quarterback?
Yeah, good question, because that's what everybody was talking about this weekend. And you're right. A lot of people want to get rid of Kyle. A lot of people are soured on Brock. I think Brock's played good this season. A lot of injuries on the team. The offensive line, as we mentioned, has not been up to par. I feel like Brock's had to do more on his own. I feel like he's playing good. I don't want to lose Brock. I think he is the franchise quarterback as long as Kyle's there. And I think you always tie a quarterback to a coach, because let's say, for example, they do get rid of Kyle. Maybe a new coach isn't going to want to have Brock. So I think that's going to be the duo. They're locked together. I like Brock. I want him to stick around. I don't think he'll get $60 million. Not that I don't think he's, earning that money, but I just think that his rate right now is maybe between 40 to 50. I don't think he's going to get $60 million. Not that he's not good, but I just think that the way his play has been this year, I think they can justify saying, hey, we'll pay you 40 to 50 and he'll take that. Like, I don't think he's going to want to take the 60. He's a humble guy. And I think he understands like 40 to 50 is good for this team. It'll help him out. But also too, I think he's still going to earn a little bit more if he wants to get 60 million. If they go on a run and win 5 or 7 in a row and make the playoffs, and it's because of play by Brock Purdy, yeah, guess what? Maybe he will earn that 60. But I think right now, 60 is a little bit of a stretch. He's played 3 years. He's been good. He's been, a solid player. He's won games. I don't think he could justify 60 yet. Kyle Shanahan, a lot of people are upset because he gets to the end and then he chokes right in the playoffs. And a lot of people hold that against him, and rightfully so. I think Kyle definitely still has to prove he can win a big game. Now, if he were to get fired today, tomorrow, he'd find a job in an instant. He's a good coach. People would line up. He won't last on the unemployment line too long. But I think there has to come a point where he needs to take a look in the mirror. The Niners need to look in the mirror. I think he's got himself at least another year with the team. If they don't make the playoffs this year, I think he's earned that. I think he's bought enough time because he has taken this team to multiple NFC championships, Super Bowl, etc. He's built this roster up from the ground. He took over a terrible team. And I think he has one more year to at least prove himself. Now, let's say next year he has a healthy team. He has a squad. You get a bunch of offseason players, and then they still crap the bed. Then I think we have to have that conversation. But I think he's done enough, Larry, in his time here to at least have bought himself maybe one more year where he's not, being fired this offseason. So I know a lot of fans aren't going to like that, but I think Kyle has done enough. He's, won a lot of games. Again, teams would want to have Kyle as their head coach. And then it comes to the question of, if you get rid of him, who is it? I know Ben Johnson's the name around all the leagues in the NFL. Oh, he's the guy. But if you do get rid of Kyle, it has to be in the offseason, and you're going to have a very, very high candidate search because this is the 49ers. We want Super Bowls. We want championships. I think it's still a knee-jerk reaction to get rid of Kyle, although, I feel like his creativity's lost a bit of zest. He's not as creative as he once was. Maybe he needs some help. It's not just because he's a bad coach. I think maybe he needs to take a little pressure, a little bit of food off his plate, maybe get an OC and see if that helps. And I think he absolutely needs a defensive coordinator that's, like you said, somebody that you don't have to kind of help and coddle and develop. He needs a proven DC, and he needs his team to be healthy. So we'll see.
King of the Nerds says Kyle and Brock aren't the problem. The weak roster is. I don't know if the roster's weak. I just think it's depleted. It's not quite the roster that it was a couple years ago. And I think it's regressed. I think they've regressed. The personnel has regressed. The offensive line's got a couple holes. The receivers don't separate. McCaffrey's been out for the year. For much of the year, I should say. The D-line doesn't have near the depth. You took out an all-pro type player in Greenlaw at linebacker. You replaced him with a real issue in Campbell. They don't really have a free safety, and they've got some young DBs. And then they've been a circus on special teams and really bad in the red zone. So you put all those things together, and despite some really good play on both sides of the ball at times, it equates to 500 and 5-5. Let's hit the supers and then we'll jet. Cecil Music says, like Krug says, though, this team lacks speed. Yeah, they definitely lack speed. Too much, as Krug is right, our receivers look slow as heck.
Yeah.
James Makastad says that McDonald audio going to be lost like the JFK tapes. Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. Anthony Catania, one of our sponsors, says, love the show, guys. Appreciate what you guys do. Go Niners. Thank you, Anthony. Appreciate you. Go check out Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles in Monterey. That is Anthony's store, and we appreciate him for sponsoring. Tommy Huxley says Niners turned into a finesse team. They need physicality. They definitely are not. They don't have that violence and that swagger on defense, and it's asking a lot to say, "Oh, Dre Greenlaw, it's all you."
Yeah,
they lost Dre, but they also lost Aziz, and they lost Jimmy Ward. And they, Ebukam, Mosley. I mean, they lost, 4 or 5 guys there. That
Menahu,
yeah, big time guys. I mean, big time guys. They lost.
That's true. That's a good point.
We got this one from Tammy McDaniel. She says Packers are going to give the Niners a butt whipping. They haven't forgot the playoffs. Well, we'll see.
It's definitely something on their mind.
Yeah, I mean, no question. You don't have Dre Greenlaw to get that last interception. Big D Trump says, I blame the team collapse on John Lynch, 100%. Nobody ever talks about Lynch completely destroying the team. They had a really nice draft, but I think the swing and the misses, and I don't know if I could put it on Lynch exclusively, but the swings and misses in round one, and then the decision to kind of couple that with, really depleting your depth to go after Hargrave. I don't think the Hargrave move was a I think that was an ill-advised move on the tail end of missing on 7-1s. If they had greater depth, I think that would have been a much better deal, even though Hargrave was kind of disappointing. But the fact that the fact that you had to deplete your depth on defense after missing on all those ones, I don't think that was the right call.
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, I love Lynch. I think he's done some really good things, but he's had his fair share of misses because, he was a first-time GM. He's made some mistakes. Solomon Thomas passing up on some quarterbacks there. Some of the free agent signings and then getting rid of DeForest Buckner was, a big miss. And then he's missed in the first round, but he's had some really great hits, CMC and et cetera, et cetera. You can kind of balance it out and make a list of what he did right, what he did wrong. I think he's done more right than wrong, but yeah, I mean, he's definitely made some mistakes here and there.
Yeah. Niner Gang says, Larry, can you ask Kyle why he doesn't play the best players? Something tells me he'll view that as, combative. Kyle, quick question here. Why don't you play the best players?
And then you'll go viral like the Grant Cohn clip last week.
What do you mean?
So I don't know if you saw it. So
yeah, I saw it.
Grant,
I was there.
He asked a couple weeks ago. Remember, there was the question about the audibles, Brock Purdy.
You don't understand. You don't understand. You don't understand.
Or Kyle was like, "Didn't I answer your question? Didn't you get to write about it in your little article there? Didn't I give you?" I was like, "Oh, he went off on him. He got mad." So it went viral. The clip, obviously, I posted it. So if you get yelled at, we were going to be posted. Oh, Kyle Shanahan rips Larry Krueger.
Yeah, seriously. I kind of would like to avoid that if possible.
Yeah, please do.
Just it's not my favorite thing.
You don't want to end up on my social media feed getting ripped up, man.
Who's this super from? We'll just say Dixie. Dixie out in the 209 says, "Great show, guys. Thank you for the insight." Thank you.
It's like Angel Reese.
Yes, that does look like Angel Reese. And people saying, "Who's Angel Reese?" Yeah, it's WNBA. You got to be super hardcore sports fan to know that one. 49er _ throwback says, Jake Brendel is one of the worst players I've ever seen. Which players would you move off from? 49ers have to focus on the trenches in next year's draft. Who would I move off of? I think I would move off of Debo.
Yeah, I know you do.
I would probably move off of Ronnie Bell.
Yeah,
I would move off of Jake. I would move off of all the tight ends not named Kittle and Pline.
Yeah, they suck.
I would move off of the quarterbacks behind Brock. I'd move off of Juszczyk for sure.
Wow.
I like Juszczyk, but I'd move off of him. I'd move off of Beal. Goodbye, Beal.
Yeah.
I'd move off of Givens. Seen enough there.
Okay.
I'd move off of Campbell and Flanagan Fowles for better, faster linebackers. I would probably move off of it's hard to say other than that. Maybe Jake Moody if he doesn't pick it up in the second half.
What about Hufanga? You bringing back Hufanga next year or no?
No.
What about Charvarius Ward? You going to bring him back?
No, not bringing back Charvarius either. But not because I don't like Charvarius. Just
for sure. He's going to be expensive.
Charvarius. I love Hufanga. I think both those guys are really good. I wouldn't bring him back just because I don't think I can afford him.
Okay, makes sense.
Let's see. We got this one from Blood Moon. This is Jeff Ulbrich or Saleh reunion. What DCs are out there? I mean, yeah, if Ulbrich doesn't get the Jets job, head coaching job, he could be a good candidate. Saleh could
Bring
be a good
him.
candidate.
Yeah, those two guys would be great.
Heck, if Belichick doesn't get the Jacksonville gig, he's out there. I don't know. There's and then there's like guys like, who's a really hot name right now who has been here before and might be the guy that I would go to hire is Jeff Hafley, who's doing a pretty good job. He's in Green Bay. They lead the league in takeaways, I believe. Jeff Hafley was a pretty good football coach here, and he was a pretty good coach at Ohio State before that. I think he's a pretty good name. To me, a guy like Hafley might be a nice new defensive coordinator a year from now. I do think they'll switch it out.
Like it.
Family fun just says, hey, single.
Nice.
Head to the strip club.
There you go.
Micah Cervantes says, I'm not a fire Kyle guy, but the idea of Spags as head coach and Matt Nagy as an assistant head coach OC is interesting if for some reason we move off of Kyle. I would be very interested in Spags. I don't know about Nagy. Nagy wasn't a very good coach, and I kind of wonder. Yeah, but Spags. See, here's the thing: if you could get Spags and a terrific young offensive coach that you liked, and that's only if Kyle decides, hey, you know what, I need a sabbatical. I mean, he looks like hell. I mean, he really does. He looks like he's aged horribly. He just looks like he's been through the ringer, And I don't know. Maybe he's fatigued. Maybe he needs a year off. Maybe he needs a reset. I don't know. But he definitely looks tired. He definitely looks like he's been through a lot. All right, we got this one from Family and Fun. He says Brock will take team-friendly deal, 3 years, $120 million.
It's not a bad deal for Brock.
Yeah, I mean, I'd take that. $40 million.
Last pick in the draft. It's good.
$40 million a year. I mean, my guess is he's probably going to get 45. 45
I think so.
to 50.
I think 40 to 50, somewhere around there. But
a lot of people think he's going to get even more. That he's going to get like 60.
Some people still think he's 60 mil. I don't think he's getting 60 mil, Larry.
Terradome in the chat. What's up, Terradome? He says no one can lead you to where they have not been. That's almost that's getting very close to unburdened by what has been. That's that's very close. That's a very close quote there to the former VP. That's gonna, which makes me laugh. That's gonna do it. That's gonna do it for us tonight. Raj, you got a final thought? We'll give you the final thought. Niners Packers week. Niners have to have it. It's in Green Bay. Temperatures they say are going to be between 30 and 45. So it's not going to be crazy, but it's going to be cold.
That's cold. I'm going to be there, Larry.
You're going.
They better
You're
win.
going to Lambeau.
Yeah. I'm flying up to Lambeau. I'll be flying up Friday night. I'll be watching the Niners in Lambeau. I get to experience Lambeau. So I'm excited for that. I'm excited to go watch, but they better not let me down in the cold, Larry. If I fly all the way down there and lose, I'm going to be very, very, very upset. So let's hope they get a dub. Tomorrow night, I'll be interviewing Jeff Garcia on my show at the Plex. So I'm excited.
Nice,
you got some good stuff coming up. Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, though, do you think the Niners are going to get this one? You think it's going to be close? You think it's going to be high scoring, low scoring?
This is it. Niners are going to win. I got them winning 24-20, I think was what I had the other my last stream earlier. I think they win because this is it. The season's on the line. If you really want to show up and win, just like Richard Sherman said, hey, look, man, if you think you have something left and you want to make a run in this season, this is it. Rent's due, Larry. If this team is serious, if they want to make a run, you win this game. And I think this is it. Backs against the wall. The team knows this is an absolute must-win game. You lose this game, the season's over. I think they're going to win. You got too many damn good players on this team. Now, it will be interesting to see the practice reports tomorrow. I hope Bosa can play this weekend. I don't know. Also, we need Brock Purdy to be healthy. I'm sure he'll be back tomorrow, maybe limited, but Those are two key factors I'm going to keep an eye on this week with updates, but I think the Niners win this game. I think they can get to Jordan Love and force some turnovers and somehow win this game. If not, it's nice knowing you, Niners.
I'm going to say 24-21 Niners. I think they get out. I think they get outplayed, but they're +3 in turnovers and win by a field goal.
Damn. Oh,
I think it's gonna be one of those games, Raj, where we feel like Green Bay looks like the better team, but the Niners get the win, and we are in the post game and we're like, it's a win, but man, they didn't look very good. I get that. That's what I'm predicting.
Yeah.
What's that?
Someone said I better layer up. I got like 3 pairs of long johns. I'm gonna be layered up. Don't worry. I'm freezing already.
Last question for you. What is the best 49er road game you've ever been to?
Best 49er road game I've been to.
Yeah,
wow.
What's the Niner road game that you went to? You said, you know what? That was the greatest Niner road game I've ever seen.
You know what? Actually, that's a good question. I've been to a lot, but the best one I've been to a couple years back, that 2022, the year that we played the Packers in the divisional round, that before that game, the Niners played the Dallas Cowboys in AT&T Stadium on the road. That was an amazing experience. A great game. Niners won in Dallas. Heck of a game.
Was that the one where Elijah Mitchell scored on a touchdown to start the game?
Yeah. That was a fun. With the one where Debo said, just give me the ball, backpack, and he takes off for a touchdown. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That was the one. That game was amazing. It was on the road to walk into AT&T Stadium and see the Niners beat them in the playoffs. Oh man, that made my day. That was great. Yeah.
I'll go with November. It was right about now. It's literally 1 week before, a few days before Thanksgiving. I was in Dallas, and I was there in '95 for Niners Cowboys. 13-point underdogs with Elvis Gerback on the road in Dallas. Derek LaVille high stepped in at the for a touchdown at half to make it 31-7 49ers.
Blew them out.
Blew them out.
I was young at that one, but I remember that one. Actually, last week I was talking to Jesse Sapolo. I had him on my show, and he was.
Oh, did you? Jesse, I had him on too just a couple weeks ago. He's
awesome. And we were talking, and he basically said that was his. I said, "What's your favorite moment from this team?" And he literally said that game. He goes, "Man, we weren't supposed to win. We had, backup quarterback." He was sitting there saying the same thing. He goes,
"Elvis Gerback, 13-point dogs." He's like, Rice scored at the anthem.
And he told me that. He goes, we weren't supposed to win. And he goes, you know how fun it was to go into that stadium and beat Dallas? And we weren't supposed to. And we thumped them. I was like, wow. So he told me the same thing. He said that was his best favorite moment of all time. And he's won 4-time Super Bowl champ.
Yeah. Pretty amazing. Amazing. All right. That's going to do it. Golden State Valkyries. Krug is eating honey buns in the press box. I will not be eating honey buns, but either way, the food in the press box has been pretty decent the last couple of weeks. That's going to do it for us. For Raj, I'm Larry. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Better for sponsoring this live stream, and thanks to Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. Check them out in Monterey or Pacific Grove to be exact. Anthony Catania. He's at 831-521-5264. For Raj, I'm Larry. Have a great night, everybody. Go Niners. Get the win on Sunday against Green Bay. And fuck those officials.
Never met a man I've been scared of. Careful.